Yeah.
I was teaching them sales. Like I would say 85% of my audience, of my employee base, came from single parent households. And, they had the news telling them they weren't successful because of the color of their skin, or they came from these bad neighborhoods, so they were never going to be anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the first one to go to them and say, listen, if you stand and greet a customer and look them in the eye and find a way to say their name in conversation and really pay attention and be present with them,
Yeah.
they will buy from you, and you will discover that you have the most lucrative skill in the book, and that's just you caring about someone. And you can take sales wherever you want to go.
All right, everybody. We've got Robert Hartline here with us today on Treehouse Talks. Welcome.
I love your property, dude.
Oh, thank you, man.
I've got to visit like one side of it. Now you just introduced me to a whole new world in this property that I did not know was over here. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, we got to get you down on the trails and down in the valley. I fell in love with this. I was halfway through the tour, and I was texting Kim like, "Hey, I'm going to buy this property." And she's like, "What? Where are you at? What do you do?" I was like, "I'm in Nashville," and she was down in Florida. But yeah, it was an interesting thing. I was working with a local realtor here, and the two things I told her, I was like, I want new construction and in Brentwood, and this is neither of those. But here we are. She's like, "You've got to see this." So this was actually on Treehouse Builders, though the previous owner, Brian Kelly from Florida Georgia Line, him and his wife built this, and he had a studio in here.
Oh, wow.
So
that would make a lot of sense.
We've repurposed it now into the podcast here for Treehouse Talks.
This is amazing.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy, and I guess I want to start at the beginning. And really, the question is, when did you realize that you were wired differently than everyone else?
When did I guess I started, I grew up in Germany, only child, came here to go to MTSU.
You came directly from Germany to Nashville to go to MTSU.
Yeah. And for the music business. And what's crazy, even crazier story, really it's crazy now to look back on it. I used to see a commercial on MTV in 1983 called All Roads Lead to Nashville. And I saw that commercial over and over watching MTV in the early 80s, and talked about Nashville. And somehow I wind up in Nashville, and I don't know, those
like a subliminal thing?
It was a tourism commercial. And that's what ended me here
All
in
roads
Nashville.
Actually didn't lead to Nashville in the 80s, by the way. Like that was
No, not back then.
Yeah.
But if you go to YouTube and look up All Roads Lead to Nashville, it's really great. But anyway, honestly, when I came here for recording industry, and I realized early on I didn't play guitar, and I don't really love country music. And I kind of had to find my way. I answered an ad in the Tennessean at the time to sell cell phones door to door. And they paid for training. I did the training, and a week after. Was
this your first professional sales training?
First sales job, yeah.
Okay.
And next thing you know, I'm banging on doors for that week, and I really didn't want to do sales. I just did the training. But I got real lucky because on a Saturday, I heard a knock on the door. I answered the door, and there's a guy holding a drill. And he says, "If I can't put this peephole in your door in less than 60 seconds, it's free." And I'm sitting there going, number one, I would never answer the door had a peephole. I don't want a salesperson selling me something. And he goes, "I know what you're thinking. You're thinking you can install this peephole in your own door because these are only $2 at Home Depot." And I wasn't really thinking that. I was just like, what? I was like trying to settle up here. But he said, "Well, I had to mess up a lot of doors to do this right."
Okay.
And obviously I'm like, I need a peephole, obviously, because there's people knocking on my door.
Right,
and he said $25. And I I slipped him $25, and I watched him go and hit 8 other houses on my street because it was easy. Like, does the door have a peephole or not?
Yeah, yeah.
And he's knocking on the door. But what struck me, he drove away in a 1993 Toyota Supra, cherry red.
Oh, nice.
Now, in 93, the red Supra was the car.
Yeah,
and I was like, wait a minute. That's sales. I had never experienced true salesmanship.
You haven't experienced somebody closing.
Right. And it was just, I saw that and I was like, all right, I could get good at this. And that was the moment that inspired me to like lean into sales. Cause I've always been kind of naturally kind of shy, and I just didn't think that was me. And then I guess I had to see it, and that was a moment that kind of shaped me. And I just started to lean into the door-to-door game, and I used to go sell phones door to door, knock on someone's door and say my name and say what I did. And
so for the people that don't know your story, you had one of, if not the fastest growing company in Nashville at one point in time, which happened to be in the cell phone business. Was there a linear line into this, or did you go away and come back into it? Walk us through.
It's just, I sold door to door for several years. Discovered early on that it was kind of silly going knocking on people's doors at night when I could go knock on people's businesses and go to business. And I devoted myself to selling to businesses. And 98, I started my company and started a little bit of the retail game and kind of grew the retail side of the business until about 2014. And I had done all the things that the typical E-Myth game of business. You start to do your business and you're doing all the things in the business. I was opening the store, closing the store. I was ordering the inventory. I was hiring the people, firing the people. I was doing all these things and working myself to death, honestly. And I really had not done any study of business.
Okay.
I was literally just...
So let's take a step back here. So you're knocking door to door, and you decide, I'm going to go into the commercial side of this, go to businesses. What made you take the leap? Like, I want to open up a bricks and mortar store. People actually come to me. Like, what caused that to like?
Dude, I would have gotten in any. If I had gotten a job selling basketballs at the sports store, I'd probably still be selling that. I don't. There was not like an inner knowing that I wanted to sell cell phones for my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was honestly, when I look back on it, I was probably very impressionable, and it was something easy to sell, and I just kind of landed in that. And I would say. I enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed helping people. I enjoyed the retail side of business. But I actually, I was doing it wrong. I had not really studied business until a moment where I had to.
Do you have any accounting background on how to run books? No.
I went to school for marketing. I originally went for music and then marketing, but I never finished. I think it's just, when I look back, I didn't know what I wanted. I was just a kid, and I think most kids, leaving high school have very little understanding what they actually want.
Sure. Yeah.
And nor do they have any exposure to different levels of experience to even discover what you want. And, so for me, I just kind of, landed in something that, I don't know if I'd do it over again.
Wow.
I don't know.
Okay. So you decided to open up a bricks and mortar store. And I'm assuming that's going well enough for you to get the crazy idea that you should expand and open up another one?
Yeah. So my first store was at the corner of Trailsdale and Harding Place, and opened one in Lebanon. And that had several stores and had grown just kind of very slowly. Up to, I guess, 2013, 14, I had about 11 locations.
Okay.
And I, at the moment, honestly, I was separated from my wife. I wasn't making a lot of money. To have that number of locations, you think I'd make some really good money,
Right.
and it wasn't the case. And I was really an unhappy person because I was working so much.
Yeah. How many people was that? How many people were you managing at that time for those 11 stores?
We had about 50 people at the time.
All right.
And I had read a book, Traction, and Gino Wickman wrote that book many years ago. And I originally did EOS with my team.
Great. And for everybody that doesn't know what EOS stands for, what does that mean?
It stands for Entrepreneur Operating System.
Yep.
And it's some time-tested tools that have been around hundreds of years, and they're going to be around for 100 more. Just really how to run a business through following a system. And
how did you get introduced to EOS? Right, because I've gotten introduced to this, in the past several years and implemented it in our businesses, but it's not something that you've either heard about or you haven't, right? It's almost kind of like it's word of a mouth type of a thing. How did you stumble upon EOS? Did you just pick up Traction by accident?
A buddy of mine. I'm in a group called EO, stands for Entrepreneur Organization. It's been around for 30 something years, and when you read the book, the book is essentially a story of what most entrepreneurship is all about, and we have these great ideas and we want to do these things, but we are getting in our own way, and that's really what Traction is all about. Because the visionary, we have these big visionary ideas and big ideas that we try to bring to our team, but we run way faster than most people. The driven that lean into entrepreneurship, they're a different breed. There's a book called Driven.
Thank you. You gave that to me. I've actually got it in here somewhere, but it's a great book.
Yeah, and it really kind of helps you be okay with being a little crazy. The world is run by crazy people like entrepreneurs. And I've become okay with saying that I'm a little crazy. We are different. And I feel like that,
I'm okay with other people saying I'm a little bit crazy.
Yeah. and once you and I think I used to be maybe embarrassed about this inner drive that I have. I used to be a little bit ashamed of it in a way, because you walk into a room and we see things that other people just cannot see. And it feels weird sometimes when you're pointing out all these opportunities and things that are kind of wrong that needs to be corrected. And you look at people and you're like, can you not see? Can you not see all these things? And it does make you feel a little bit weird, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I guess we should take a big step back, our relationship. So my company, we launched EOS last year. And in the entrepreneurial operating system hierarchy, you have a visionary. It's typically a founder. It's a big idea person. You have a integrator, which is the day-to-day kind of operations person. And then it's highly recommended in this system that you bring in an implementer. And Robert, actually, one of his many things that he does, we talk about serial entrepreneurs here too, is he's a professional implementer, and he'll come in to businesses and help them launch EOS. And it's been instrumental in our business with having that guidance and what does this mean or how do we do that? So appreciate that. Thank you very much for all the work that you've done with us on that. So going back to you've got your retail stores, you've got a handful of them. Maybe you were at the 11 at that point in time. And through your interactions with EO here, somebody gave you the book Traction, you read Traction, a light bulb goes off. Yeah. So you're like, I got to take this to the team. Guys, this is me right here. This is us. We need to, we've got to get somewhere on this. We've got to get some accountability. We got to get some GWC. We got to, figure this stuff out. What changed? What changed when you got this, introduced it to the team?
Well, this is the challenge of a visionary. We have these big ideas. We go to our team. We're excited. Here's a book. Read the book. Everybody read the book. And we're going to go do this. We do this. And behind your back, they're doing this. Here we go again. This is the new flavor of the day. And they will fake it. They'll go through the motions. We started doing our level 10 meetings, and which is a way you do a 90-minute meeting every single week where you get on the same page and you follow an agenda. And it kind of goes for a minute and then it fizzles out like every other idea that I've ever tried to deploy.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that there were other people that would help you, because just like if you want to teach your kids how to do something, you could try to teach them yourself and they kind of ignore you, or you hire a coach and the coach comes in and says, throw the ball like this. And they're like, oh, coach is amazing. It's like, I showed you the same thing, you know, but you need that other voice to come into your team. And that's really what someone comes in when helping you implement will do that. But for me, I knew that existed, but it was a Sunday. I was at my house. The company wasn't doing well. I was separated from my wife, and I was taking a nap, and I hear the fire engine and another fire engine outside my house. I run downstairs, go outside, and my neighbor's house across the street's on fire. And I'm like, what is going on? And I notice a bunch of neighbors to the next house. I join them, and we all do what neighbors would do. How can we help? You know, what happened? You know, we're standing there watching our neighbor's house on fire. And by that time I said, how can we help? A fireman brings a carton of waters, and everybody's got a water. And by then I'm watching another fireman put on an oxygen tank and set up the tanks by the house, suit up. Another one's hooking up the water hoses. And I'm watching organized chaos. I'm watching a well-orchestrated team. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there like in a surreal kind of moment, like, wow, they're really good, you know? And they go into the house, and I realize at that moment they start walking into the house. I see the mom and dad, 13-year-old daughter who is in tears. And we start to realize that she's in tears because her new puppy dog is in that house.
Wow. And
they go in the house. A few minutes later, they bring out this limp puppy dog. And it was a very emotional moment because, you know, we're with the family, this house, and all this stuff is happening. It's just, wow. They bring the dog to these waiting firemen with these oxygen masks, and they're trying to save this puppy. And super emotional, watched that happen, and they were unable to save the puppy. But they had a fireman holding a blanket to receive that animal. And I know this is going to sound really crazy, but it was that moment I was like, if that was my company doing what I just saw, my team would have been like, hey, boss, I got this dog. It's dead. What do I do with it? Mm-hmm. You know? And it would have been me, if I'd got that call for the fire, I would have been in the fire truck driving that thing. And it was me realizing at that moment that I was a firefighter in my whole business. The whole time I was the one grabbing the water hose and doing all the work. And it was about that time a guy pulls up in a bright red Suburban, the fire chief. He pulls up, slowly gets out. He's looking, watching, doesn't do anything. He's not doing anything. He's just watching. And it's like, oh, that's what a leader does. You know, the leader is at the fire hall doing all the work, getting them ready for the fire, preparing, building processes, making sure the right people know how to do what. And then I watched in that same event, I saw the leader actually do his why at the same time. Because when all the dust settled and the fire was put out and people are settling up and packing up and they're going, I saw that man sit with the family, navigating a family who just lost a dog, and now their house is ruined.
Yeah.
Right? And I saw him be with the family. I saw the way he engaged with the family, and like you felt his heart. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it was one of those surreal moments. It's like, all right, I got to have help.
Yeah.
And I cannot do it on my own because I was in the way in my whole business the whole time. So that was the moment for me. I had to have an event for me to shift and make a deeper commitment for EOS.
So let's talk about that. So you had this event, you had this spark, you had this realization, this event. You go back into the business, and you'd already read Traction. Did you have an integrator in the business at the time? Did you have somebody that could handle that part of it to get you out of it? Like, you go do visionary stuff. We've got this.
It didn't work out,
Well, let's talk about that. It didn't work out. Let's talk about that.
It didn't work out. So essentially, in the process at EOS, we do a thing what's called an accountability chart.
Yeah.
And we get in a room, we get real in the room. We like, all right, what does this company need to survive? What are the roles and what are the 5 functions for every role that need to exist?
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at it like 6 months out, 6 months to a year. What does the company need? Let's strip away our ego. Let's pretend everyone in this room does not have a job. What does Absolute Wireless need to survive and thrive? Almost think of it like you were developing the right parents to parent this baby, your business, right? And so we set everything up. We kind of picked everyone. And, I was the visionary. I was clearly the big idea guy that had too many ideas, didn't know what to do with. And then we had an integrator who was really good at getting things done. She was a great manager of people. And we picked all the seats. The challenge for me in the first 6 months of our EOS is I kept getting in the way. I keep meddling.
Mm-hmm.
I was in all the leadership meetings. I would essentially, in EOS, the integrator is the one supposed to lead the meetings, and I would end up taking the ball. I'd end up grabbing the ball from the integrator and not letting her do her work, know, and I was absolutely in the way for the first 6 months, and what
have you not read Letting Go of the Vine yet?
I know. Yeah, right, exactly. And through some weird timing, we lost our lease where our corporate center was, and we moved to a new location. And I made the decision when I moved to the new location, I was not going to have an office. And that was the best decision I made, because it forced me out of the office, because I became the person they always went to for everything.
Yeah.
And something I didn't realize at the time that I realize now is I think we all get a dopamine hit when we solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are like me, sugar is the way before I get a dopamine hit, and I'm addicted to sugar. I'm also addicted to dopamine, and I was addicted to other people's problems. And when you are so available for everything and you're solving problems, you get kind of addicted on it.
Yeah.
But really, it's as you grow up in the organization and as a true leader, you are stealing the dopamine opportunities for your rest of your team.
Right.
And by separating myself outside of the business, meaning outside of the physical space of the business, and only working on my 5 functions that were on my vision role. When I leaned into that, I spent my time figuring out new marketing strategies that drove people to come to my stores. Mm-hmm. I found people that I could buy their businesses. I built relationships and key partnerships in the wireless community. And it wasn't until I was true visionary that the company exponentially grew.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you had your aha moment, and then we had a period of time where you were either not realizing you were getting in the way, you were fighting it, or you just wanted to come in and steal everyone's dopamine. So once you started getting traction with that, you got out of the business. Talk to me about that scaling part from there up to the eventual exit. What did that look like? What systems did you put in place? Walk me through some of, how did you do that?
Yeah, for me, it was first off, getting every single store to level up and convert more traffic that we had. So in our business, it's all about converting traffic.
Okay.
And during this whole exercise of scaling the business and going this trajectory, I got sober in the exact same moment I did all of this. And just weird happenstance, I went on this sobriety journey. And through that process, I learned about breath work. And it was at I was in Costa Rica with this guy that I was going to do breathwork coaching with, and we would breathe for 3 hours together. Imagine like, and it's an experience that I can't really describe to you, but you have a complete reset. And I was going to visit him. I did 10 weeks with him. Every week I'd spend 3 hours breathing with him.
So that gets back to that crazy part.
Yeah,
again.
it's crazy. But I was actually, for me, I was really leaning into really discovering who I was, because I had used alcohol to deal with my stress and anxiety of things that I couldn't control in the business. I would use it to celebrate. I would use it I had a bad day. I mean, I used it too much. I wasn't like none of my friends would ever thought that I was like an alcoholic. Nobody would ever say that about me. But once I stopped, I was just trying to get to know myself more, really have a deeper understanding of, who I was as a person. And anyway, through that process, I'm going to visit my breathwork person, and his wife asked a simple question. And she asked the question, she says, "What do you do?" And at the moment, and this is right when I was just kind of like, this is right before we did the whole launch and everything. She asked me, "What do you do?" And I go, "Well, I sell cell phones." And I said it like, I sell cell phones, like, because honestly, at the moment, I was like, I've been doing it for like 16 years, and I was just like, kind of tired of doing it. I was unsatisfied. I had fallen out of love with the business. Totally had fallen out of love with it. And she goes, "You sell cell phones? It's amazing. You mean you connect people with their loved ones? You help them find new love. You help them learn a new skill. You help them cook. You help them be entertained. You help them listen to music. You help them dance." And she's like going on and on about all these things that their cell phone does. And I was like, yeah, I sell cell phones. And I got into this whole notion of I connect people. And that's what I'm good at. Yeah. I love to connect people. And that change of frame, understanding my why, for me was like, I needed that. And honestly, I spent my energy when I was leaning into being, one of my functions in my role was culture. And I developed this culture called I Care. It's a country way of saying I care. And it was simply a way to show someone that you cared about them when they walked into the store.
So the I Care stood for something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is I'd spend 90 minutes with new hires, and I would teach them, if you show someone that you care about them, you will build a relationship and they will love you. And as a result of loving you, they will buy the phone, the case, the tablet. They will refer you, all the things. Yeah. And so I taught people how to sell.
So what you weren't doing anymore at this point in time was opening the store. Right. Closing the store, stocking the shelves.
I was teaching them how to do it. I was teaching them how to sell it. Yeah. I was teaching them sales. Like I would say 85% of my audience, of my employee base, came from single parent households. And, they had the news telling them they weren't successful because of the color of their skin, or they came from these bad neighborhoods, so they were never going to be anybody. And I was the first one to go to them and say, listen, if you stand and greet a customer and look them in the eye and find a way to say their name in conversation and really pay attention and be present with them, they will buy from you, and you will discover that you have the most lucrative skill in the book, and that's just you caring about someone. And you can take sales wherever you want to go. Whether you start a business, whatever it is, that's the path. And it doesn't matter if you went to school or not, you can make more money in sales than any doctor, anybody that has gone to 12 years of school. All you got to do is just learn to be present and care about people, and you'll get whatever you want out of life.
Yeah. So you figured out what the right role is in the visionary structure of EOS for you. You got out of the business. You started going, you found out what your why was, and started doing the things that actually fill your cup. So talk to me about the eventual exit. So you're growing the business. You've made a 180 from where your feelings were before. You're energized. You're amped up. You're amping up the staff. So what got you to the point you're like, hey, I either don't want to do this anymore, or there's an opportunity to exit, or like walk us through that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I wish it was a great story because it really boiled down to 2019. I had, from 16 to 19, I had scaled from 11 locations to 78 locations.
That's a huge operation. How many people at that time?
450.
Okay. Yeah. That's
So we had, by that time I had moved my family once to Costa Rica, and I built a telemarketing team out of Costa Rica, and there was a lot.
I want to come back to that because you were actually featured on a TV show too with was it House Hunters?
House
Yeah,
Hunters
so we'll come
and
back to that.
Hunters.
But so talk to me about this. You've got 450 people. You got a whole bunch of locations. Is that just Middle Tennessee, or did you?
Yeah, we were all the states around Tennessee.
Okay.
We were five different states, and it was first acquisition was 26 locations. We did a bunch of little acquisitions, and the first kind of foray to acquiring a big business, we acquired 120 employees with that purchase, and it was a wild. That in of itself, the very weekend we make the acquisition, we land in Costa Rica, and we get robbed at one of our locations that weekend. We had acquired.
You didn't get robbed. Somebody at one of the stores.
One of our stores got robbed. Yeah,
I gotcha.
In Atlanta, and the very next night, another store within 10 minutes drive got robbed. And I went, and this could be a whole podcast on attracting negative manifestation. This could be a whole story about that. But
I love this topic, by the way. I love manifestation. I love speaking it into existence, and I spend more and more time shutting down negative conversations around me. Because I don't want to hear it.
Yes,
people will start talking about stuff. I'm like, okay, let's change the subject. I don't want that's fine because I'm trying to keep my waves in a certain manner, and it's sometimes you just got to walk away from it.
Oh yeah, I mean, for me, I had those 2 break-ins, and then all of a sudden, I'm realizing something I didn't know that happens, but alarm systems don't work.
Well, you have to turn them on, but yeah.
No, they. If you get to an alarm and you climb into the business next door, you can get to, as long as you get to the alarm system in less than 60 seconds and unplug it, it's useless.
Got it.
And so suddenly I was
pro
like,
tip, everybody.
Yeah. So suddenly I'm like, I need to and someone needs to watch these stores 24/7. So I hired a team in Costa Rica to watch the security during the day because I had people doing thefts in the daytime.
Wow.
And anyway, the first year of all those acquisitions, I was in a constant state of fear that we're going to be broken into. And I manifested so many break-ins over and over.
You think you were inviting it?
I was absolutely inviting it. Eventually, I had to change my mindset away from thinking about it all the time. I had this app on my phone. Anytime a store sneezed, if something blew a sign one way, it would alert me. And I was in constant state thinking we're going to be broken into.
Wow.
Long story short, I changed my mindset, and that the break-ins stopped happening.
I love that.
Until 2019, we had our first armed robbery. And I suddenly started obsessing about armed robberies. And would you know it? I would have 6 armed robberies Every month for 6 months, I had an armed robbery.
Holy cow.
Never had one in 20 years. It was the wildest thing. I had manifested armed robberies.
Was this like a known thing? Were you guys having a lot of cash on site? Or were people just taking hardware? Like what were they like coming in with a gun's a pretty serious thing.
Yeah.
Did you have actual cash and registers there?
No, they were getting phones.
They were coming in armed robbery to take a phone.
phones.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And it really wore me out. I loved the business, but the theft, we were such a target because you got an iPhone that's $1,000. You get 5 of those. That's
it's pretty
$5,000.
easy, portable. You can take. Yeah, I can see that.
And anyway, 2019, T-Mobile acquired Sprint, and we're going to become a a T-Mobile retailer. The launch happens in 2020, and I'm excited. I'm going to be a T-Mobile retailer and lots of advantages. But it's the middle of the month. I look at my report, and I'm losing $500,000.
Wow.
And I go to my team, guys, what's going on? They can't tell me what's going on. I get in my Tesla and I said, navigate to the closest T-Mobile store. And I realized at the moment that we did not exist on the internet. They had taken us off the internet. I did not have my stores on Google Places. And if any business owners...
SEO is a thing, by the way.
Yes. Yes. You must own your Google Places page or you
Google My Business. You got to have that. Yeah.
And I started looking at my other stores. None of the Sprint
You were
retailers,
invisible. Somebody looking for you were invisible. Yeah.
I was invisible. And next month lost another 400,000. And by, when I started my scaling journey, you need to get money from somewhere, right? So I'll go to the bank like everybody does. I got a house, right? I owed like $5 million that I had in loans with the bank, and now I'm losing $500,000 a month.
Yeah, that's not sustainable.
No, not at all. And to make a long story short, another T-Mobile retailer came calling and gave us an offer, and it wasn't an offer like it wasn't the the FU money that you hope to get after 20 something years of business,
right?
But it was enough to pay off, save the house, have a little money left over. And so I agree. I sign. Week later, T-Mobile comes to us and goes, "Oh, by the way, we're going to have you shut down another 12 locations." And so the offer goes down 50%.
Oh, wow.
And fast forward, I'm in tears on a Zoom call the last day of 2020 saying goodbye to everybody. That was the ending of Absolute Wireless. And, lots of lessons, so many lessons, own your brand. I didn't own my brand. I mean, I represented someone else's brand, and they really had me by the balls. There's no doubt, they could cancel me at any time. They basically told us what to do, what not to do. I am thankful that I got to experience what I did. I learned a ton. I had a lot of fun too. But fast forward, shutting down the business was really hard.
Yeah.
Dealing with, I had 12 locations I had to close. They had furniture. I had $500,000 of equipment that I had to liquidate. Shutting down a business, you don't realize how sad that is to shut down something, and heavy it is, and soul crushing. Is like, just look 20 years, 22 years of your work. You have to sell it to this other entity who came in, reduced everybody's pay, work conditions wasn't like our culture. They hated me for selling.
Yeah, sure.
In their eyes, oh, Robert had this exit. And it wasn't like an exit, an exit that I was even proud of at all.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that's something that maybe people on the outside looking in don't see. Talk about the target that you get, the arrows in the back, sometimes in the front, like, oh, you're the CEO, you're the founder, there's a lot of weight that comes along with. There's a lot of attacks. Um, did that surprise you?
Yeah, because I had a lot of people that I really loved,
Mm-hmm.
I really cared about, and they were angry at me.
Right.
They were angry at me for putting them in a worse position. And they had every right to be angry with me. And
Yeah, sure,
disappointed.
but I doubt none of those people were on the hook for that $5 million in loans. Nobody probably had mortgages on their house to float the business, to float
Yeah.
the payroll. And I think that's something that it's not something that is talked about, where the risk actually ultimately lies.
Yeah.
That's on you. And so when you're making business decisions for the greater good of everyone, at the end of the day, it's like, hey, I've got to make payroll. I've got loans. I've got mortgages. I've got overhead. I've got all those things. Was there can you think of any instances of folks that may have been with you for a long time that you were kind of like, wow, man, like, I'm really surprised that, you're acting like this, or that, you're attacking me in this way?
Yeah. I mean, I understand, from their perspective,
Mhm.
why they would have been disappointed. And honestly, when it all went down, I was in the probably the worst headspace I'd ever been. And I remember when I got a divorce in 2001,
Okay.
and how I felt at that divorce is exactly how I felt losing the business. The emotion was exactly the same. There was no difference whatsoever. I was
Yeah.
angry. I was sad.
You
I
probably
was,
had the business longer than you were married.
oh yeah, that was like, yeah, I would almost say that was a super meaningless marriage, but I mean, but the emotion was identical. And I'd read a book called The Three Marriages, and The Three Marriages is a story about our relationship with three parts of ourselves. One, our marriage to our spouse, and then we have a marriage to our purpose, and then our marriage to ourself. And if you lose any one of those, you will have this sense of loss and lack of meaning. So it definitely took me a while to get over. In fact, I mean, I've told this to a lot of people. I wrote a suicide note exactly a year after I sold the business, and I had been journaling every day. I was really struggling with like trying to pick up the pieces and trying to like figure out, what's next for me. What should I do? And it was during that time that I happened upon a EOS Life podcast talking about business owners that had navigated EOS, and I was like, oh, EOS did so much for me, and I was suddenly, well, maybe I should be EOS. Maybe I should help other business owners with implementing EOS, and that started my journey to do it for other people, really.
So tell me how rewarding that is, or maybe that's not the right word. So you're meeting you work with a lot of businesses of all sizes, all over the place, not just here in Nashville. And I think you're very, very good at it. Do you find yourself biting your tongue in meetings? Do you sometimes feel like, man, I know that story, I know the ending of that, like, just let me give you guys the shortcut, like, walk me through kind of those emotions, because you've been through so much of that in your own business. Walk me through what that's like.
Well, first off, it's super rewarding. Oh, I love it. It's so wild and fun and exciting. And they teach us to bring our own stories when they're needed, but the wisdom is in the room, that we're not supposed to give advice. We're supposed to allow people to kind of figure things out on their own. And I find that sometimes is a bit of a dance, especially when you have people in the room that aren't totally bought in to the whole organization. So, getting people to be open and honest, and actually, my job in the room is, in fact, to create some conflict. The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team is a great book where it really teaches you that your meeting should be a lot like a good movie, which good movies have conflict, and we should be having some sort of debate or challenge or something that we're pushing through. If it's a boring meeting, then we're not making any important decisions. So it is the most fun where you actually get to play with the universe. It's the best way I can say it, because the part of this is getting people to see the vision in such a deep, meaningful way where they can feel and taste possibility into the future, and getting everyone aligned with that, so that you can step forward in a future vision. And the reason I like it is I'm also in Strategic Coach with Dan Sullivan, and he teaches you how to age. He's got a book, How to Live to Your 156. He only writes books that take him 90 days to write it, so they're super short.
Yeah,
and he teaches fundamentals on how to live a long life. A, have younger friends. B, have something to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure.
And if I'm helping someone achieve their future vision, I get to sit back and wait for the vision to come true and actually live in your dreams, which is to me almost like a spiritual thing. It's fun.
Yeah. I think that having purpose is so big. I think that there is something, having deaths close to me in my family. I've seen that where people don't have a day-to-day purpose or some sort of big ambition or some goal, just kind of wither up, just kind of disappear. And it's hard for me to get my head wrapped around that. But you said something earlier. You said something in our first meeting with the team that a lot of people through EOS will self-select out. And I believe what you were saying, but I just didn't 100% because, we had a large team in the room, we were going through that. And when we talk about the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and we talk about having the right person in the right seat, you are absolutely correct. And we saw that happen over the course of a year. We had people that just self-selected out. And one of the books that Dan Sullivan I really like is that 10x is better, is hard or easier than 2x. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Is it 10x is easier than 2x? And there's some of those principles around there. It's like having those big goals and going for it is I think it is an easier thing.
Yeah. And what he's teaching you in that book is really, when you stop and look at it, what a true visionary, you get the true visionary to lean into their unique ability and just do that.
Yeah.
The whole book is a journey from most people, even if they're super lucky, are only 20% of their unique ability. The trick is shifting that to 80%. And in order for that to happen, you got to have the right people on the team that got your back, so you can just do your unique ability. And I tell everyone that book is a spiritual guide disguised as a business book, because spirituality is doing what you love with those that you love so that you can live in heaven on earth. Heaven and hell are just in our minds, I believe. And I can create hell, and I can also create heaven. But how you do that is when you do what you love, you elevate levels of consciousness into a level of love. Like love, when you are doing that thing that lights you up, puts you in flow, you move into what's called Kairos time, which is out of time and space, versus Chronos time. So you literally can have almost an out-of-body experience when you are fully doing what you do.
Yeah.
And that could show up like you're connecting with a client, you really understand their pain point, and you are so dialed in to understanding their pain, you have the solution, and you're speaking them in a way that they're just connecting. They're like, oh, I found the solution.
Yeah.
And you're like, just like you're on, like you could almost stop talking, and suddenly you're in such a vibe in connecting with them that they're like, yes, I want it, and you'll walk away like, I don't even know what came out of my mouth.
Right.
You're not even thinking about the words.
You're in a flow state for sure. If you're, I think anybody that watches sports, there's sometimes it's like NBA Jam. He's on fire. Like everything you're throwing up, it's going in. You've seen quarterbacks, you've seen everything. It's just boom, boom, boom. And I think in business, and this is in any role, whatever it is, you can get into that zone and it's just like everything you're doing, you're hitting. My wife, Kimberly, she says all the time, like, give the guy with the hot hand the ball. Like if he's like, keep feeding that to him because there's just something there and it's hard to explain. I call it being in that flow state. We talk about being, doing what is your natural state is, and you're no longer working. Right. It is just you're in there. And, it'd be a wonderful thing if you could just operate in that space, if you're just doing what your uniques are. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, we don't get to operate just in that state. And I think that's where some of the coaching you've had is like getting to that and having the team around you that allows you to do that puts up the walls, that does the blocking and tackling. So you're just throwing the football down the field. You're not also trying to catch it or kick it or replace the equipment or any of that other stuff. So important. So if you're talking to an entrepreneur, if you're talking to people, how do you put that right team in place? How do you identify that?
Well, it's just, the same fundamentals that you've learned about your unique ability, you need to find the same type of people that are in their unique ability too. So you got to go down the levels of each member of the team. Are they in their unique ability? The beautiful thing about what EOS would call rocket fuel, where the integrator and the visionary are really in lockstep. You want an integrator that's great with people, and an integrator that's also good at saying no, because the visionary is going to have 1,000 different ideas. And, having the right people who are in alignment with the core values of the organization, because the core values of the organization is something that the company just is. The company is a certain personality. There's no changing that personality of the company. You are just that. We're not trying to come up with aspirational core values. Right. These are just who the company is. All we want to do is be ourselves. Like the why 10X works is for you to be you. Not fake it till you make it, not some other character that you're trying to drum up and be something more than you're not. No, people are drawn to people that are authentically just themselves. And when you see someone that's just themselves and being themselves, you're attracted to them. You want to be around them. They make you feel good. And it's just like you feel safe. You feel trusting of them. And so you want to find people that are authentically themselves, that love what they do. Yeah. That you love being around them. And our life is short. It's too short to go to work with someone that you despise, dislike, don't like to work with. I mean, why are you putting you and them through pain? Yeah.
And I tell this to folks all the time, same thing, life's too short. If you don't love what you're doing, if you don't love coming in here, if you don't love the mission, go do something. It's like we're not gonna be mad at you. It's we've got shit to do here. For your own sake and for ours, go find that thing that gets you I am super excited. I'm super pumped up about flying planes or making baskets or cutting grass or whatever it is. I'm in my jam time right now. I am into landscaping. That's awesome, dude. Yes. Go do that. You should do that.
And here's the thing. A lot of people don't even realize most people with a simple conversation could shift the love into anything they're doing right at this moment. I don't care if they're cleaning offices. Yeah. If I had a cleaning crew and I was going to give a motivational speech about cleaning the offices, I'd go, guys, we do scientific research at this building. And when you come in here every night and you clean the space and you put love and your heart in it, you're cleaning it so that these researchers come in the next day with a clean workspace, with a clean mindset, and they are solving real problems in the world, you are doing this.
Yeah. It reminds me of the story of when they went to NASA and they asked the janitor, what do you do? He said, we're going to the moon.
Yes.
100%. He wasn't clean. He's like, we're going to the moon.
And I'll say this,
which too. I don't know if we did that or not, but anyways.
We could definitely debate about that.
Yeah.
But the reality is, a janitor putting good energy in a space actually does something to the space.
I love that.
And people come in, they're like, this space feels different.
So that's a great segue, talking about spaces.
Mm.
You recently made an acquisition of some
Yeah.
space. Let's talk about that. This is exciting stuff.
Yes. So I acquired the Music City Work Club.
Uh-huh.
And
where is that at for everybody? People that
so
are
I'm in
familiar
Na-
with Nashville.
Yeah, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, and we have 2 locations, one in the Nations and one is over 12th and Wedgwood. But it's the big space is a 12,000 square foot event, co-working space. And
Very cool space.
I'm turning into a co-work space for entrepreneurs in wellness. So it's a place for wellness for entrepreneurs. It's a gathering spot. Music City, I have a lot of love for Music City. For those of you that are not familiar with Music City, in the 1920s, a insurance company put up a radio tower called WSM, which stood for We Shield Millions. They sold insurance, and they were the first ones in the game to getting into radio. And so people from all walks of life flocked to Nashville who had a voice. It was either song, music, storytelling, news, information, teaching, education. They came to our city to be heard and discovered. And that radio station sent the signal through all of the United States and Canada. And so Nashville has had a history of people coming here to have their voices heard and discovered. Since the 20s, people have been coming here to be discovered. And so if you were to go to the Music City Work Club and go to our workspace, we have a giant wall of album covers of people that made the decision to bring their light, bring their song or storytelling out to the world. And we have a stage there, and we hope to bring more people to have a voice, to shine their light, whether it's entrepreneurship or musicians. Musicians have a unique role in our society. Musicians are the ones that inspire us to think new ideas. And whether it's in a song with movement, with just getting yourself in an altered state of joy and ecstasy through music, a lot of creation happens that way. That's when we were vibing at a certain level. Mm-hmm. That's when I believe that we get these great ideas that we have to execute with, or we'll suffer.
Well, I can tell your energy's changed like this, just talking about this. You're excited.
I'm so
it's crazy. I mean, you're just like a whole nother person just came into the room here.
Dude, I've had it for a week, and we had a bunch of events, and people are just like, when I tell the vision, they want to be a part of it.
I love it.
And I love the energy. I have been involved in lots of different co-work spaces, and I'm not a huge fan of co-working, but I want to create a co-winning atmosphere.
I like that.
I want people to come into the space and meet someone that can help them go to the next level. Find someone, whether a partner in the business or someone that knows how to do the things that you need to know, the who, not how principle. Mm-hmm. I want to create the space that you can come and do that. And also from the side of wellness, mental health, physical health, for entrepreneurs and we put a lot of stress on our mental capacities, how we think, how our mind works. And you got to think about the wellness of an entrepreneur, how expensive not being healthy is for an entrepreneur.
It's an interesting concept.
And when you think about when you're in a bad mood, mm-hmm. What does it cost your team when you bring that energy? It is exponentially horrible. And just like any other entrepreneur, if you're in scarcity and you have a mindset of scarcity, you will only receive more scarcity. And we have to be at the top of our game all the time because it costs us multiple.
Yeah, you definitely want to operate from a place of abundance. And, what you're saying there, and I'm thinking back, I have to check myself, what I'm doing prior to a meeting. Yeah. Right. Like there's certain calls or certain things that I try. I'm not saying I don't do them at all, but I have, as the years have gone on, I won't do certain things before I go into a sales meeting, because if I come in, you're right. If I come in and I just whatever, maybe there's some sort of disciplinary thing, whatever, I'm going to bring that energy into that sales call and they're going to feel it. Right. And that's not fair to them because my headspace is something like theirs. So as much as I try to compartmentalize, there's some things just like, I don't want to hear about that because I'm going to go over here and I'm going to be talking to a room full of folks about this, whatever. You do have to monitor that. And I think it's an important thing for, entrepreneurs or CEOs or other people, senior business leaders out there that you should be mindful of that.
Yeah. And a lot of entrepreneurs will lean on drugs or alcohol to help with that transition, or feeling anxiety. So may take a drink, or, weed, or, other
the book you mentioned earlier, Driven, talks about that. There's some physical attributes mentally, just the way that a lot of entrepreneurs are wired, that there's a lot of parallels between people that do drink a lot or other substance abuse problems that you can almost like cookie cutter them out to like, well, this guy does this, and they also do these other things as well.
Yeah. Other addictions, gambling, or,
it's a lot of things,
lots of things. And so what we, part of our event space, we have a room for breath work, and breath work is a beautiful way that whenever you're in that scarcity mind, you got that fear, you got that pressure, like, you can breathe in a rhythm for 10, 20 minutes, and you can literally switch into a new state of feeling ready to be creative, ready to collaborate, ready to really be at your best. And, just teaching these tools that are free, like we have our own internal pharmacy at our beck and call. And all we have to do is to control our breath in a certain way, and we can start to manage it. And when you teach someone that tool to take this beautiful engine, this powerful being that we are, and alter it so we're in more control of our emotions when we need to be in control of our emotions. And we teach people that, and then they can start to realize that, oh my gosh, now I can teach that to my employees, because your employees are suffering the same thing.
Sure.
The same challenges that, most organizations, the leadership team, it's not just like there's a driven entrepreneur. They're driven leaders. They're winners, and they suffer the same challenges that, we do. And so they may come home at night and seek to have a couple of drinks to disconnect. And those, I think it's up to us as leaders to teach and give them skills to help them to realize they don't have to do those other things.
So last question in that I want, as far as something you're working on, talk to me a little bit about your Scaling Sober, right? So you've kind of got another program going on here. Walk me through that a little bit.
Yeah. So Scaling Sober is my passion to mix the two. When I started navigating sobriety, I noticed how utterly boring not drinking was.
That's a big dose of honesty.
Yeah, it is really boring. And I found that I devoted a lot of my time into getting my life on track in the business. And it occurred to me, I had many different situations over the last couple of years that have drawn me to see this correlate, this is happening in social media world. If you notice anybody that's spoken about their sobriety, look at the number of likes and hits they get. Every post that you see, someone that's talking about their sobriety journey, you can multiply 10x the number of likes, comments, impact, discussions, people saying, well, how do you do that? And then these conversations start happening. Well, hey, tell me more about that. And they're also asking like, hey, I kind of wonder if I have a problem with that, And so I have this theory that I'm navigating, and that is, I believe that if leaders were being more open and honest with their brand image and saying, I own this company, I am navigating sobriety, by you stating that it does a couple of things. One, you're kind of held accountable. You're stating, I'm navigating sobriety, and it's another way to hold yourself accountable. B, you inspire people on your team to start having those conversations. But on the C side of the equation, I think it's a way to highlight your brand more, because people relate to and they understand the dangers of alcohol and all the data that's came out of all the studies that are coming out with alcohol, whether they say you drink one or whatever. I mean, it's the leading cause of cancer. I mean, I just lost a very close friend to cancer. And this guy was well in shape, and he had stopped drinking many years ago. But I think brands that align themselves with this message, and this is what I'm advocating on my social, is I'm advocating to put in your byline in your LinkedIn profile, sober leader. Because if you state something like that, you're inviting other people to ask the question, what does it mean to be a sober leader? And it also invites people on your team to go, oh, I have someone in my company that I can go talk to that's not going to judge me because maybe I think I have a problem with drinking. But it's not just drinking.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's weed is a thing.
Gambling's a
My
big thing.
phone, dude, I can't even say I'm really sober from my phone, you know?
Yeah.
Sugar. Oh my gosh, don't even get started on sugar.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've seen you. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I
I watched you. So, all right. So I want to do some rapid fire stuff here before we wrap this up. You ready?
yes, let's do it.
Name something expensive you don't regret buying.
Name something expensive that I don't regret buying. My lake house.
Okay, Lake House. Awesome.
Yeah.
Name a founder that you admire the most.
Gino Wickman.
Gino Wickman. Okay, that's a good one. What is your go-to order at a steakhouse?
Ribeye.
Ribeye. How do you get that
And
cooked?
mac and cheese, medium.
Medium. Okay. What's one conspiracy theory that you secretly buy into?
Oh, this one is good. I secretly buy into. Oh gosh. Well, I don't know if it's a secret. It's not really a secret. I say this out loud. I believe we're living in a simulation.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, Elon was just talking about this recently. It's not the chances are not zero.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the dumbest thing you've ever spent money on?
The dumbest thing I have ever spent money on, I bought 12 condom machines while I was in college, thinking I was going to make a lot of money putting condom machines in fraternity houses.
Didn't work out?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Nope.
What's one song that gets you in the zone?
Hot for Teacher. I don't
Okay,
know.
there we go. So we got Van Halen again.
Yeah.
And then what's one hill that you will die on? What is one thing you're like, nope, I'm not giving up on this. I'll fight you tooth and nail on it. I know this is right. What is your one hill that you will die on?
I think the one hill I will die on is I love my life. And I want you to love it too. And I really want people to really wake up and be themselves. And, you know, this is a crazy quote. You could call it controversial. You can call it what it is, but this is what I live on is hell is realizing during your last breath that you were God the whole time.
Wow.
And when you really think about that, and it's like, it's kind of heavy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like one of those things that it for me, in my belief system, forces me to take responsibility for my life.
Okay. Well, everybody, that's Robert Hartline. Thank you for coming to Treehouse Talks. This was great, man. I really enjoyed this. That's how can everybody find you? I know you're on LinkedIn, all the different places. Easy enough.
Easy enough. You can visit scalingsober.com.
Cool.
We are inviting entrepreneurs that want to scale their business and experiment with sobriety. We're doing a TV show, filming it at the Music City Work Club. You can visit scalingsober.com.
Love it. All right. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Eric. Dude, that's good.